So I'm gonna move, unless there's any other announcements or happy dollars, so we'll welcome Francesca again. Thank you for being with us. I know Francesca for quite some time. I had prepared remarks, but I will maybe abbreviate them.
Improvise.
So we are very lucky to have her here today. She's a very special person. I first met her, as I alluded to before, as a teacher at Driscoll. I think that's where we first met. Our mothers also lived together at 100 Center Street, across from where Joyce lives. Francesca is an active contributor there in many ways to our friends group. She is all about community. She was herself a student at the Driscoll School, which is unusual. She lives at the Driscoll, across the street from the Driscoll School now. She was a student there herself. Her two sons went there. And now she's a teacher there. So I think that's a wonderful example of what it is about community. She also spent 13 years teaching a graduate school class at Brandeis University about creating a strong and calm classroom community. So she's been a mentor to teachers. I think she's been a pioneering teacher and really a model for educators in our community and beyond. And we're going to hear about the KEEP program and her concerns about her work in the environmental area. But I think there are models that she is creating that are applicable in our community and beyond. So we're really lucky to have you here, Francesca. She's going to tell us about the KEEP program and the Signs of Nature project. And please feel free to add in the many other things that I should have said about you. I should have also said that both her boys are really great kids. I know both of them. One's in California now, one's here. So thanks, Francesca.
Great. We should say also that Signs of Nature is the name of the district grant project that we are working on right now. Not quite filed with the district, but there are toe in the water, and we'll have that done within the next week or so. So
wow, well, there I am. Holy cow, with a red curtain behind.
And then you want to share your slides, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this is funny because as a classroom teacher, I had to do this. I had half of my class on Zoom, bringing back stressful memories of the Zooming of the coordination of the kids. And actually, when I was teaching with hybrid, the kids had a choice whether to Zoom in or not. And they all chose to Zoom in because they were so bored, I think, that they wanted to be at school. So we were together all the time. But all right. So I feel a little uncomfortable looking into the screen. So you guys on the screen, I'm going to try to talk more to the people in the room, but I'll try to pay attention to everybody. All right, as Richard said, I am here today to talk about the KEEP Club. Can you guys hear me fine online? Can you hear me online? Okay.
Donna, can you give us a thumbs
hear
up?
me?
Can you give us a thumb?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, so first of all, I wanted to just give a big, I can actually make this shared. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and if you put a little X on it, it's transcript.
Okay, I'll exit. Okay, great. So first of all, just a thank you while I'm here to say to all of you, thanks for coming on this really hot day. Elias, it's amazing you came when you almost didn't come. And I'm happy to have everybody who is online come in, and Hamilton's for letting us come in. I don't know what you guys did to convince them, but I'm glad they did. And Joyce and Richard, I have known Richard a long time and Joyce a short time, but you guys have a lot in common. This is not my prepared notes, but I will just say that what you have in common is an incredible amount of willpower, organization, tenacity, follow-up, efficiency, and dogged persistence just to make sure this came into being. I'm not that easy to rope in, and the fact that I'm here at all with all of this prepared is a testimony to you guys, I just want to say. So you are amazing leaders. I think, I don't know you yet, but if you're like they are, I think Rotary Club has no boundaries. So what you can accomplish, it's amazing to me.
Thank
So,
you.
and also, I did prepare some notes. I'm just going to wing it a little bit, but even though I'm a long-term Brookline person, I want to say that I didn't know anything about the Brookline Rotary Club. I'd heard of the Rotary Club before, but I didn't know there was even a Rotary Club in Brookline until Richard Segan biked by my household while I was gardening and basically got me to join in and start a grant project to get the BU Rotaract Club to come to Driscoll. And all of that happened in one, like while I gardened and Richard was biking by, and somehow in that 15 minutes, I was in. And so I didn't even know you existed. So I actually am just going to look a little bit at my notes. I mean, I knew the Rotary Club existed, but I didn't know much more than that. All right, Joyce, I'm not sure how to change using your, oh, there. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to go to my own notes here. So that is a picture of me in Summit Hill with my dog, Chauncey, around 1972. And I want to, so going to my actual notes now a little bit for you guys. So I also want to say that I have never done this before, so I'm honored to be here, and I'm glad it's a small group. I've spoken a lot to large groups and small groups, but never for a business organization, I realized. I've always spoken to educators or classrooms, graduate school students. So I'm branching out to work more in the community and with business people and people who are interested in doing what they can to join in. So this is a great opportunity for me to try this out. And I would love for you after to let me know what connected for you and what didn't, because my biggest goal in this world is to bring diverse groups of people together. That's what I like to do, because it's almost like why mixed dog breeds often live longer. You know, we do better if we're not too pure, right? So I think that that's my experience, is that if you want to make anything happen, you have to get everybody who's a possible stakeholder involved. And especially, now I'm not saying you guys are against what I'm going to say, but I think it's critically important to also get people who might say no to what you want to do and get the alternative viewpoint. And a lot of the things that I'm most interested in have people who don't agree with me and who possibly might see some of the things I want to do as either pie in the sky or not what Brookline needs. So I'd be interested to hear after what you guys think. So let me just scroll up to my own notes. I want to tell you that about why I'm here and who I am. And as Richard said, I've been around a long time, but I would like to tell you about how I arrived here. So my mother was an artist and scraped by at being an artist, lived a very interesting and adventurous life, and didn't have me until she was almost 40, and then realized that the art world was not going to support the things that she thought I would need. So she decided to become a teacher. I was born in San Francisco, California, and I spent my childhood going in between the West Village in New York and an Italian section in New York City to San Francisco back and forth while she tried to make her career work as an artist. And then she decided to become a teacher and got her degree, and heard through a close friend of hers who was at the time working closely with the Brookline Historical Society. And that friend said, come to Brookline where the schools are really good. So my mom moved here with me in 1972, and she was able to get a rent-controlled apartment at 21 Westbourne Terrace, which are now condominiums going for big bucks. But at the time, my single mom could afford it, and we moved into 21 Westbourne, and I lived across the street from the Driscoll School. And not too long after that, I got this dog that you're looking at named Chauncey, who, what I wanted to know is interesting is that at this moment, Chauncey is on a leash, but at that time, dogs weren't on leashes. And I used to just let Chauncey out, and the neighborhood kids would bring her back. And the other thing you should see is that I have keys on I was a latchkey kid because my mom was working full time. And those keys were responsible for many scars that landed in my head because I was constantly running around. And I actually do think I have like little scars there from those keys hitting me in the head as I went around Brookline. And we were a little more feral then. We could run around like the dogs, and there were no play dates. You just ran around and saw your friends and went to the tennis courts. And I didn't usually go to summer camp. I went to the Brookline parks. They had a program where the Brookline paid for somebody who would come with sports equipment and would bring tennis equipment, and we played something called rough and tumble, which was very dangerous, but we kind of tackled each other on the field. And but Brookline was a community that I felt supported families, whether they were rich or poor, in between, to stay together and have activities and recreation. And it also seemed, even as a kid, that they always also supported the elderly. That was, from the time I came, something that there was, I think, the senior center, I don't know, but I know it wasn't there then. Richard would know. So anyway, I then did eventually, I graduated from, let's see if I have oh yeah, that's my 4th grade classroom at the Driscoll School. That's me. I ended up getting braces right away because my mouth needed it. And that's Conan O'Brien, who some people always want to see. He and I were in the same class forever. And yeah, and I know all these people's names very well. And some of them were actually at my wedding. So there's my 4th grade class from Driscoll School. My mom actually got out of teaching. She told me to never become a teacher or an artist, that neither one of them was going to make me enough money or get me enough respect or intellectual satisfaction. And so she left teaching, and she went on to become a historical writer. And that's a book she wrote about women who went to sea in the British Royal Navy. So I was realizing that I could talk to you guys a lot about myself, but I realized in talking to Joyce that I didn't know much about the Rotary Club. So I did research to find out about you all. And I saw that you have 1.4 million people. I had no idea you were so large, and that you also have this incredible list of goals to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water and sanitation, like you, Richard, save mothers and children, support education, grow local economies, and protect the environment, which I heard the 7th one is the latest one to join your areas. So this to-do list, I have a long to-do list, but you guys really have outdone yourselves with this to-do list. It is pretty unbelievable, but I'm impressed that you have it. And again, I don't think we can do any of your 7 things unless we bring all of our communities together, all ages, schools, parks, everybody together. So now I want to just tell you a little bit about the Keep Club. KEEP stands for Kids Expect Environmental Protection. And I put this in that BEEP stands for Birds Expect Environmental Protection. And you could go on from there, but a big part of the KEEP Club is to take care of our local. I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't go internationally, because I know you're an international group, but what I have found is that you have to start knowing what you have around you and then going on from there. And that includes all your local habitat and getting to know your neighbors and getting to know the businesses and getting to know everybody that's around you. And is that my, I hope it's not mine. It's not my phone.
No,
Your phone. Okay, fine. So this is a picture. I'll just move on from here. So the KEEP Club has 52, well, it had 52. I don't know what next year we'll have, but on the last day of KEEP Club, we had 52 students who come. We meet every Thursday. And this is a picture of us on the last day of the KEEP Club. And that's 5th to 8th. That group is 5th to 7th graders because the 8th graders had graduated by the last day of school. And that is the amazing Max Brown, the BU Rotaract president. And he and his group, I don't know if all of you know this. I mean, I know Joyce and Richard know this, but do you all know that do you all know Max Brown, by the way? You all know him? All right, so he came and did an incredible slideshow about what PFAS is. And because one of the reasons is that is a local fight happening right now at the Driscoll School, because as you all may know, they're ripping down the old Driscoll School and they're putting in a new one. And there's a big debate about whether or not to put in a turf field, and turf fields have PFAS in them. And again, I have parents of students in the environment in my KEEP Club who are for turf, and I have students in my environmental club with parents who are against the turf. And it's a hot button topic right now in the town and in our school. But Max came, and I felt it was perfect to have somebody in the Rotary Club, a Rotaract Club, come and just give a objective view of what PFAS even is. So not a political presentation, but a scientific one. And for the students to have a college student come and explain it, I thought was also more motivational than having me or another teacher, that somebody who is not much older than them could come and explain all about it. Was a really big deal. The KEEP Club also, as you all probably know, got together with Mothers Out Front and the Department of Public Works, and we did a big Charles River cleanup. And that's a big group picture. I think that's right before we did it. And those two people are part of the DPW right there, who we're working closely with as well.
There are a number of Rotarians there as well.
Yes. Do you see?
That's okay.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, it was a Rotary group, the Mothers Out Front. Did I not say that? Anyway, yeah. And so a lot of garbage picked up. So that's a sign that one of the KEEP Club members made using bottle caps. And one of the goals of the KEEP Club is to reduce plastic waste and unnecessary plastic waste, because we're not going to eliminate all plastic, but if we can eliminate some single-use plastic. So that scrap the cap right there, the scrap the cap is one of the goals that we have. Just tell me, do you want me to cut to the chase? Tell me about time, Richard.
Well, it's 7 before 1. So usually we have till 1 o'clock. But
I can
think most
cut.
of us can stay a little longer.
No, but
if
I
you
can
want.
cut. I can cut.
Cut to the
I've-
chase, but we'll
Okay.
make it easy.
So, so there are many subcommittees. If any of you are interested in the KEEP Club, you can look at a lot of the things I'm showing you on the website. I don't have to go through the whole thing. Yeah, so now I'm going to, that was the next thing. So one of the projects that we're working on, besides the plastics and all of that, is a project that is now becoming really the focus point of my existence. This isn't just a unit I'm interested in. This is now something that I want you guys to know about, that I feel, I don't know how to say this. This is the biggest thing I think I can do between now and whenever my end comes. Like, this is now what I am most interested in doing in my life, what I'm about to share with you. And it's this project called Signs of Nature. Oh, these are more things about the Keep Club. All right. Keep Club, Keep Club. So this shows you some signs, but this is just a little piece about it. So I'm gonna just scroll. Okay, so Signs of Nature is, the idea is to continue, as you can see, the work of many environmentalists before me and who are still working strong. J. Drew Lanham is still alive. Not all these people are dead, is what I want to say. These are people who've come before, but are still working hard. Sylvia Earle is still working hard. Suzanne Simard is the woman who's working on the way trees talk to each other through the fungus networks. Nalini Naktarni works on tree canopies. These people are leading naturalists. And Mary Oliver, the poet, is no longer alive, but her, this segment from her poem called Sometimes, and it's called Instructions for Living a Life. And I know the Rotary has a motto, which you guys know about, I put it somewhere in here, but the motto for the Signs of Nature is based on this, which is pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. And that's the motto. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. I want to say that the main reason I feel compelled to make this project come into being is because even though after 30 years of teaching, I feel kids are still kids. I have not seen, your grandkids coming into your world, your kids getting married, having babies. Everybody is still, our DNA has not changed that much. There's the kids that I taught 30 years ago, they're very much the same as the kids I teach today. The biggest difference is their anxiety level. The anxiety level in kids is going up, and the anxiety level in their families is going up. And chicken or egg, I'm not sure who's making who anxious, and it's probably a combination of both.
But don't you think, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because I have a grandchildren. Don't you think it's based on knowledge? How much kids nowadays know about things?
I do. We can
versus
talk.
the past?
Yeah, so I do think it's based on knowledge, but I agree. And definitely being on the computer, which is part of why we're doing Signs for Nature, being on the computer all the time, getting news feeds, and actually a lot of kids now get their news from TikTok. In fact, I've had kids do research on nature they found in the woods, and they got their answer on TikTok. So yes, they're getting their information from being on the web and from being on screens. But why they're anxious is multi-layered. It is from too much knowledge, but also our world is, that climate change is really destroying our world. And whether you talk to kids about it or not, they know. They can't go outside and play the way they used to. It's getting hotter. They can't skate outside the way they used to. The natural rivers are not freezing. They can't, there's no escaping the fact that climate change is destroying the planet. And it just is. And whether or not you believe how fast it's happening, what's happening, it's happening. And so the dual what kids are learning and knowing about the world, and combine it with the effects of climate change. And then on top of that, the pressure, the divide between the rich and the poor, and the fact that students cannot, like, as I was actually going to say, part of my training besides teacher was being a waitress. And when I was a waitress, I paid my way through graduate school. I had a really good apartment. I could go on vacations. But now, in order to make a living, students are looking at this world as a place that they have to get into these colleges and get postdocs. And so I think that students are, and maybe it's coming from their parents as well, but there's just a lot of pressure for them to not even be kids. Like, I have fifth graders who, when you talk about, like, you know, what do you do for fun? A lot of them will still say, well, I'm planning on going to MIT, so I'm going to do this kind of project, because they're so future focused, because they're worried about their future. So my it's like, in my world, what can I do about that? What I can do about that is, yes, I have my environmental club. I can get my students to learn about the earth, get outside, protect it, advocate for change. I can do all of that. But what I can't do, and why I'm talking to you, is we all have to, it can't just be the kids. The kids have to get their families. We have to get our local businesses. And so we have to work on this together in any way we can. And so the Signs of Nature project, the idea is that you would adopt a small portion of land. Now, if you're a business owner, it could be right outside, like, let's say you have like Matt Murphy's, and you have, you know, some plants outside, make them pollinator plants, like, get the businesses involved. If you, as Richard showed, and I think, so I wanted to show you this. So this, I don't know if you guys can recognize, right here, the Driscoll School's here. This is the corner of either Evans or Downing, right there. You see, so this is one of those bump outs that Richard was talking about. And did I put it? This would be another example of getting the school community and the town and the Department of Public Works to possibly adopt. Now, that's just a little space. It's got one little tree, and I'm sorry I didn't, oops, I'm sorry I didn't get the picture of the, there's just this little itty bitty tree there. And the goal is that we would, I have it on my computer somewhere else, but the goal is to work with the Department of Public Works, the Parks and Open Spaces in Brookline, local businesses, the schools, possibly senior homes who have people who are knowledgeable or want to participate in adopting local spaces. And what we would do is, one of the Parks Department plans is they have a program called 800 Trees. And this year they were able to plant 350, I think Alexander Vecchio said, which is great, but it didn't mark their 800. So one of the ideas is that we would start just with trees, and that the students in the town would notice what had been cut down, what they were going to plant, and start to get citizen scientists, meaning you all and kids, to notice which trees they planted, how big they are, what kind they are, what kinds of animals, birds use them, what is underneath, what kind of soil do they need, so that what happens is the community starts to learn about the whole ecosystem. And I don't know about you, I I know a little bit about Joyce and Richard. I don't know about the other people in this room, but I will say there's a book that one of the books I've been reading is a book called Dancing with Bees, and it's an English writer, and she's an environmentalist, and she decided that she was walking to work one day and she realized that she couldn't even name 6 of the trees and what kind they were on her way to work. And she decided that in order to be happier and to get back in touch with nature, that she was going to focus on one thing. Now, she didn't focus on trees, she focused on bees. And that's great. And but the whole notion is that I think around Driscoll School, when they cut down 100 trees, 100 trees. And I know people who have lived on Westbourne Terrace probably for 80 years who couldn't have told you, they could have told you maybe 1 or 2 of the trees they cut down, but they couldn't even tell you which trees they were or what kind they were or what lived there or what inhabited them. So the goal of this project is that if we pay attention, not only to the trees, but for example, during COVID, a lot of us became more aware of even the birds and the turkeys in our backyard once we were home. People who never noticed started to become aware of it. And I, for example, met a robin, not just a robin, but this particular robin who nests near my house. And now I've gotten to know this. Last year it had 2 baby robins, and one of them got killed by a cat. I was devastated. Now it has another one. It only has 1 right now. But I bring this up because it makes me super happy every morning that I'm not just seeing any old robin, I'm seeing this robin and its offspring. And my goal is to get the Rotary Club and anybody who's listening to this or interested in this to know that if you start paying attention to, as you go out today, to like outside of Hamilton's, what tree is that? What bird is that? You will, I think, become, and your grandchildren and the children around, and if they help plant and protect it, I think all of our stress will come down and our sense of power in the world and ability to change it because you have adopted it will go up. And that's my goal. And that's my presentation.
Well, thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
This is very enlightening.
So one of the things that we've just done recently is our district, which represents Brookline Club and the other clubs in central Massachusetts, we just signed what's called a pollinator pledge with the National Park Service, and it's connected to the National Historic Sites. You know, we've got one here, and then one down in Blackstone. But I bring that up because there's a program behind that called Operation Pollination,
Mhm.
and there's a tremendous amount of material available to support exactly what you're doing.
Oh.
So we should connect you to that.
Yes, Joyce mentioned it, but
Yeah.
to me, but I haven't yet done much. She mentioned it, but I didn't do enough research into it. And it sounds great. It sounds perfect.
There's a lot going on. There's an effort with the Monarch School, which is engaged in trying to save the monarch butterflies. They're doing a train trip down through the U.S. into Mexico, and to publicize what this program is all about. And it would play into what you're doing very, very well.
And they were just put on the endangered list, the monarchs.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around
Oh,
that
there's
one.
always
Yeah.
controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that it's not an accident that these organizations and efforts are all popping up, because it's obviously, I think obviously the only thing to do is not sit around. So I think if we could merge, it would be great.
There are, there are 2 points I'd like to
Yes, please.
talk about from your presentation. But first, I'd like to say I'm grateful I've met you. I'm grateful I came here,
Oh, good.
and there's a lot of common between you and what we in Rotary do. But you brought up two important things to me that worth explaining. I think the first one was to bring to light that we're not a business organization anymore.
Oh,
We're not a chamber of commerce. We are community activists. You would be a perfect candidate to belong to a Rotary Club because of how you think, what you do, and how you reach out to things. But yes, when Rotary was founded, it was from classification and all this, and had to do business, and so much of that, this business and that business, but not anymore.
okay.
Anyone who's active, who have an idea, who have a good standing in the community and the world, can be a Rotary. So this is one.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. The other one I want to say, and because I hear it a lot and I deal with it a lot. It's because of the environment and it's because of the nature of the business I'm in. I do hear that things about lots of assumptions that people who run businesses that could be damaging to the environment would be must be the people we should address, or because must be the people we should convince to change their minds. And my reaction always has been, when I became a businessman in the environment I am in the business type I'm in, there was not much exposure and knowledge about environment, and
Right.
what the damage to the environment, and the studies that we now there is. I always think that people like me can make the greater difference because we control businesses that directly have to do something with the environment.
Yes.
So our decision and our way of controlling is more effective than theories. And the reason I say that, because I have fought many Warren articles in the town that they were so anti-business, and just because of the nature of the plastic, just because of the gasoline, just because of, but people who wrote those articles often ignore how much difference those people who manage those businesses can make to the environment.
Right.
Because if I am conscientiously aware, I can
Yes.
make the company I represent accountable to everything that goes around, to all the decisions that comes. So this point always comes up, and I like to make it clear that
That's good.
running a business like that doesn't mean you're anti-environment.
I agree. No, I agree with you.
I think we should be the focus
Absolutely.
to enlighten, to make sure it's done properly.
Elliot has to leave. So
Elliot,
I have
nice to
another
meet you.
appointment.
Elliot, nice
Okay.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Let's connect and I can get you this information on.
I would
Operation
love it.
Pollination.
I would
I'll
love
send all
that. Okay, great.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
guys.
you.
Have a great rest of the day.
Take care. But on
Elias,
the,
one of the things I would say about Francesca, which she said in her opening remarks, which I think is so true, and that we all need more of, is that you mentioned that you don't want to just talk to the people who agree with you.
that's
Right.
right. I like that.
You
I
want
like
to
that very
engage,
much.
and that is what I think Rotary
Yeah,
is
yeah.
about too.
And that's what
Bringing
I
people of
brought my
different points of
attention.
view and sharing and discussing.
And like you said, we grew up not necessarily
Knowing.
knowing, and how I think I told Joyce that my postal delivery man is terrified of bees and wants to kill all bees. because he's afraid on his delivery route, he's going to get stung.
Yeah.
But he and I were talking, and I was saying how he should become a citizen scientist because he walks the same route and notices which birds are there, which bugs, and he got excited. And then yesterday, he came running to our house to tell us there was an injured pigeon, and he didn't know what to do about it. And so I actually think I was in the middle of a Zoom call, and so my husband went running down with a box, but it was just that little, like, just that alone. And so just the idea of taking people who are afraid of nature or weren't taught. So it really is, it really should be from babies. You know how they're teaching babies to swim now? Like if you, there's baby, it's really has to be from babies to seniors. Like it, and you can't assume that anybody, you can't assume what people know.
That's right.
And
Exactly.
so, yeah, and then it's an exchange. And the other thing is, it shouldn't be that, you know, we're going to enlighten the business people on saving the environment. It's really has to be an exchange of how the economy works and why things can't roll out the way they, well, the way, you know, I think that sometimes, you know, people who want change want it so faster and they don't understand the process. So I think anyway, yes, I agree with you.
It has to come. Yeah.
I think what I admire about Francesca is that she is all about education,
Oh, yes.
critical thinking, engaging. She just touched upon it quickly. The pictures of 54 kids. I learned about some of this. These kids are doing amazing different projects. Research about gas leaks, research about composting, research about recycling. It's fascinating.
Right.
So,
And it's amazing what they can know, especially if we unify. And if we, let's say, develop this science of nature idea, then what can happen is there can be a community exchange where, for example, I had students whose grandparents were visiting from India and we were planting, and the grandparents had a farm, and the grandkids didn't even realize how much their own grandparents knew. They came to do, so there was this almost like, oh, granddad, I didn't know you knew, and they knew so much. So I'm hoping that it will be an exchange of ideas and intergenerational. That should be
I like
big.
to share. I like to share a little story with you. My daughter moved into our house about 3 weeks ago because they're renovating their house and they'll bring an addition. And my oldest just turned 9 not long ago, a couple of months ago. So I think it was May 20. Yeah, May 20. She'd be upset if I wasn't teaching it. But it is May 20. So first day they moved in, we were as if she have planned for them. My wife, you all know her, she's a Rotarian, she comes here. She is the least aware about environment than she cares. Like, she cares about what color cup, the presentation, how I put them together, all this. That's how she is. And but to think about the environment of this, that was the last thing on her mind. So Salam, who is the oldest, the one I'm referring to, 9-year-old, my wife gave a plastic cup of water. She said, "No, Grandma, I don't want a plastic. You make glass, something you can wash. I don't want to use a plastic.
Yes.
Plastic is no good."
Yes.
And she started talking about not using plastic. I mean, this is what we bank on, I think.
Exactly.
I think the knowledge, the raising them up, knowing how, that's
exactly it. That's it, in a nutshell.
From each other, the younger generations can teach us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see what's possible, like in the stores. If you have, I was camping with my son in California, and we went into, it was a like a variety store. And I thought it was gonna be like a 7-Eleven, and it sort of was, but there were no plastics. I almost put a picture of it. All their beverages. I didn't bring a picture, but all their beverages in the big glass container were either in metal or glass. And I think, it's a small store, but I was happily surprised because it's very hard, actually.
Oh, it is hard. It's not easy.
So, yeah,
I
we
wanna
should
just-
wrap it up.
Yeah, we do need to wrap it up. I'm wondering, Joyce, or Francesca, if you want to say a minute or two about the grant and the status.
I would leave that to Joyce.
So
Um,
I think it's.
Well, Francesca and I have met, and my life has been a little topsy-turvy in the last week, so I haven't written up all of the good notes that I have from her. But my goal is to get that finalized within the next few days before the first of August, and get it submitted so that it can be considered by the grants committee. But I think that's a very good chance. It's very collaborative. We have the participation of several groups. Mothers Out Front is one of them. Even the Appalachian Club
Yeah.
has some interest in this. So, and Justice does a great job of getting people interested in the project. And we're looking for the Rotary Club grant to help
And I
with
would pick up
supplies, shrubs, flowers, things like that, that they can work with, and the art supplies to make signs, like you saw her little sign, a tree or something, telling about the tree, that make the sign rendered in metal, so that it'll be more permanent, weatherproof and so forth, but not plastic.
Yeah, you were very good about that.
Sounds great. Joyce, what's the
Yeah.
cycle? What's the time frame? When would Francesca?
Well, the cycle is it would be for the current Rotary year, and would hopefully be approved within the next month, so that by the time school starts, she would have the budget to work with.
I was going to go to meet with the principal at Driscoll after this meeting to even see if we could secure or get him to find some spots around Driscoll, like the one I showed you. Talk to the construction people. We need to coordinate our efforts, and we'll need the principal. Just again, like, we have to work together. We have to make sure the
Yeah.
construction people, the police department, right? Like, sometimes you go to do some project and somebody comes along and tells you that they had another plan for it. So I have to make sure.
Right, but I was noticing when you were talking about, at least waking us up so we notice these things. The bases of several of the trees just within the reach of my own property. I could get some pollinator plant seeds there.
Yes,
But, they tend to be starved for water too. So
they are.
it has to be something that would withstand the drought.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is also worth looking into. So everybody would be like, which are the most drought resistant,
Right. So I've been shopping for the kind of.
That's so great.
So that I know what to put in the budget
And I think if the Rotary Club was part of this and we got like a little sign that almost became the signs of nature, like signs of nature was here, in these spots. So like your little tree outside your house, if people look, there would be, it's almost like your Rotary symbol. There would be a thing that would show that it's starting to happen around our town. And so other people might want to try it too.
You mentioned something about the little public spaces that possible to plant trees and do something, or being sponsored and
Yes,
adopted.
yes,
I remember when I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, I had that vision to have all those little corners and
Yes.
squares being sponsored and adopted by businesses.
yes,
And I brought it up, and it was a great idea. Everybody loved it. Everybody wanted to go be on board. Everybody wanted. But then, as we start to implement this, we start to come to the understanding that the Department
I
of
have to
Public Works,
leave.
the way they do things, you know, the labor laws and also the union laws and all this will not allow us. I mean,
Yes.
we can have an idea, we can pay for it, but they would not allow us to be there. They have to do it.
That's why,
And that
yeah.
really stood. in the
But you
middle.
know what? That's why now the Brookline Department of Public Works has hired their brand new positions.
Uh-huh.
And those two women, Shema Medhat and Katie Weatherseed, and then the head, Alexandra Vecchio, are all on board. I met specifically about this grant. And so they are on board to support it. And they will in fact provide mulch and some, so I think the time is right.
Yeah, and also I believe Erin Galantine
Yeah.
is an amazing individual. She's really good.
She's a mover shaker.
She's a
for
mover
sure.
and shaker. She can make
Mhm.
things happen, and she believes in this stuff.
Yeah.
She believes in it.
Right, exactly. Yes, I think so.
I'm also thinking that this will be, so the rec department is on the idea fits in, Elias, with the idea of businesses adopting space too. This is a
Yep.
replicable model
Yes,
of engaging with the community to improve the local environment, the presentation of the community, the beauty of the community.
Yep.
That all adds value. So
in
I
fact,
think
she's
I'm
not
very
here
excited
today,
with you.
but I was telling you, Richard, that yesterday my Keep Club has a bank account with Rockland Bank across the street. And the manager of the bank was helping me with a problem.
What's her name?
Her name's Joelle, and she was.
Joelle, she just
Yeah.
joined Rotary.
So what was funny is she was helping me with a banking problem, and then she said, "Are you speaking tomorrow at the Rotary Club?" And I said, "Why, yes, I am." So it was very funny.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, she's not here today, but I'm hoping, yeah, like, think about all
We
the
will
banks in
carry- we will
Brookline.
carry the word.
We did record this session. And
Yes,
so-
hopefully I did.
Oh, all of them will
on
be
or off
listening
it.
to them.
We'll see.
But we
yes.
definitely want you back
Oh, wow.
at times where we can have more attendance.
Okay, well, it was a good,
Because
it
you
was a
deserve
good
that.
launch. It was a good launch.
Francesca, thank you very,
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming.
Okay, Richard.
And I think to a successful grant and a model will be replicable.